The stars looked different from the bridge of the Zephyrian survey ship Cosmic Wanderer. They always did when you traveled this far from home. Commander Veltar pressed his four-fingered hand against the cool metal of the control panel and watched the endless black space ahead. His blue skin had a slight glow in the dim light of the bridge. Like all Zephyrians, he was tall and thin, with large dark eyes that could see much better than most other aliens in the galaxy. "Commander," called Science Officer Crix from her station. Her voice had the musical quality that all Zephyrians possessed. "I am picking up something strange on the long-range sensors." Veltar turned his head toward her. Crix was younger than him, but she was one of the best science officers in the Zephyrian fleet. Her expertise in detecting unusual energy patterns had saved their ship many times during their 3-year mission to map the outer rim of the galaxy. "What kind of strange?" Veltar asked, walking over to her station. The bridge was small and efficient, designed for a crew of only 12. The Cosmic Wanderer was not a warship or a diplomatic vessel. It was built for one purpose: to explore unknown star systems and report back to the Zephyrian homeworld. Krix pointed at her screen. The display showed a 3-dimensional map of the star system they were approaching. "This system was supposed to be empty, sir. According to our star charts, there are 3 planets here, but none of them can support life. The first planet is too close to the star. The second planet has no atmosphere. The third planet is too far away and too cold." "But you found something?" "Yes, sir. There is an energy signature coming from the third planet. It is very weak, but it is definitely artificial. Something made by intelligent beings." Veltar studied the display. The energy signature was indeed very faint, but it was there. It pulsed in a regular pattern, like a heartbeat. Could it be a probe from another species? Maybe the Corvani or the Helix Collective? Crix shook her head. "No, sir. The energy pattern does not match any known technology in our database. It is something new." The commander felt a familiar excitement in his chest. This was why he had joined the Survey Corps. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries. Most star systems they visited were empty or contained only dead rocks circling their suns. But sometimes, just sometimes, they found something unexpected. "Set course for the third planet," Veltar ordered. "But keep our shields up and weapons ready. We do not know what we might find there." The Cosmic Wanderer changed direction smoothly. Its engines were almost silent, using advanced ion propulsion that could push the ship to incredible speeds without making any noise. The journey to the third planet took 6 hours. During that time, Veltar gathered his senior officers in the small conference room to discuss what they might encounter. "The energy signature is getting stronger as we approach," Crix reported. "I am also detecting what appears to be artificial structures in orbit around the planet." Navigation Officer Thane, a stocky Zephyrian with silver markings on his arms, pulled up a detailed scan of the planet on the main screen. "The planet itself looks dead, sir. The surface temperature is -40 degrees. The atmosphere is mostly nitrogen and carbon dioxide, with very little oxygen. Nothing should be able to live there." "But something is producing that energy signature," Security Chief Nara added. She was the only female officer in the senior staff and had served in the Zephyrian military before joining the Survey Corps. "It could be an automated system left behind by an extinct civilization," Veltar nodded. "That is possible. We have found such things before." He paused, thinking. "But this feels different. The energy pattern is too complex to be just an automated beacon." As they got closer to the planet, their sensors began to pick up more details. What they found made everyone on the bridge stop and stare. "Commander," Crix said in a voice filled with amazement, "you need to see this." The main screen now showed a clear image of what was orbiting the planet. It was not just one structure, but several. The largest was clearly a spaceship, but unlike any ship design in their database. It was long and cylindrical, with multiple sections connected by smaller tubes. Parts of it looked damaged, as if it had been in an accident long ago. "The ship is approximately 2 kilometers long," Thane reported. "It appears to be very old?" I am detecting some power sources inside, but they are operating at minimal levels. Are there any life signs? Veltar asked. KRX worked at her console for several minutes before answering. It is hard to tell, sir. The ship's hull is blocking most of our scans, but I am detecting some areas that might have breathable atmosphere inside. Veltar made his decision. We will dock with that ship and investigate. Prepare an away team. I want full environmental suits and portable atmosphere analyzers. We do not know what we might find inside. 2 hours later, Veltar led a team of 4 officers through the airlock connecting their ship to the mysterious vessel. Their environmental suits were state-of-the-art Zephyrian technology, designed to protect them from any hostile environment. As they entered the alien ship, their helmet lights cut through the darkness ahead. The first thing they noticed was how different everything looked. The corridors were wider than Zephyrian ships usually had, and the ceiling was higher. The walls were made of some kind of metal alloy that their scanners could not immediately identify. The artificial gravity is still working, Nara observed, but it is set to a different level than what we are used to. They moved slowly through the ship, checking each room they passed. Many were empty, but some contained equipment that was clearly very old but still functional. The design of everything was strange to Zephyrian eyes. Where their technology was smooth and curved, this ship's equipment was more angular and blocky. After an hour of exploration, they found what appeared to be the ship's computer core. Crix connected her portable scanner to the alien system and began trying to access its memory banks. I am getting something, she said after several minutes of work. The computer is still active, but most of its systems are in standby mode. It appears to be some kind of ... colony ship. Colony ship? Veltar repeated. From which species? Crix continued working. The alien computer system was unlike anything she had studied before, but gradually she began to understand how it operated. Sir, this is incredible. According to these records, this ship was launched over 400 years ago by a species called ... humans. The name meant nothing to any of them. They had never encountered humans in their travels across the galaxy. Humans? Veltar asked. I have never heard of them? Are they in our database? Thane checked his portable computer. No, sir. No record of any species called humans. Crix continued reading the alien records. It says here that this ship was called the New Horizon. It was carrying 10,000 humans to establish a new colony. But something went wrong during the journey. Their faster-than-light drive failed, and they were forced to stop here. 10,000 colonists? Nara said. What happened to them? According to the ship's logs, they landed on the planet below. That was, 397 years ago. Veltar felt a chill run through his body. 397 years ago? On that frozen planet? Yes, sir. The records show that the colonists took everything they could carry and went down to the surface to try to survive. The team stood in silence for a moment, thinking about what this meant. The planet below was hostile to most known forms of life. For any species to survive there for almost 400 years seemed impossible. Are there any recent entries in the ship's log? Veltar asked. KRX searched through the computer files. Yes, sir. The last entry was made only 6 months ago. It appears that some of the humans still come up to the ship occasionally to maintain the basic systems. 6 months ago? Veltar could hardly believe what he was hearing. They are still alive? It appears so, sir. And according to this entry, there are not just a few survivors. The log mentions a population of nearly 2 million. The silence that followed was even longer than before. 2 million individuals surviving on a planet that should have killed them all within the first winter was beyond anything the Zephyrians had ever encountered. Sir, Nara said finally, what do we do now? Veltar looked around at his team. They were all experienced explorers, but this discovery was unlike anything they had prepared for. Finding a lost colony was one thing. Finding a lost colony that had not only survived, but apparently thrived on an impossible world was something else entirely. We need to contact the surface, he decided. If these humans are still alive after 4 centuries, we need to understand how they did it. This could be the most important discovery in galactic history. As they prepared to return to their ship and attempt contact with the human colony, none of them realized how right Veltar was. The discovery they had just made would indeed change galactic history, but not in any way they could imagine. The humans waiting on the planet below had accomplished something that would force every species in the galaxy to reconsider what they thought they knew about survival, adaptation, and the will to live. The story of the lost human colony was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Commander Veltar stood on the bridge of the Cosmic Wanderer and stared at the frozen planet below. The surface looked like a world of ice and death. Dark storms swirled across the continents, and the thin atmosphere glowed with an eerie blue light. It was hard to believe that anyone could live down there, much less 2 million people. "Have you been able to establish communication with the surface?" he asked Crix. The science officer looked up from her console. "I have been trying for 2 hours, sir. The atmospheric interference is very strong, but I think I found the right frequency. There appears to be a communication station near the planet's equator." "Keep trying," Veltar ordered. "If there really are humans down there, they need to know we are here." 20 minutes later, Crix suddenly straightened in her chair. "Sir, I am receiving a transmission from the surface." "Put it on the main speakers." Static filled the bridge for a moment, then cleared to reveal a human voice speaking in a language none of them recognized. The voice was calm and professional, but there was something in the tone that suggested the speaker was surprised. "Do we have a translation protocol?" Veltar asked. "Working on it, sir," Crix replied. Her fingers moved quickly over her controls. The ship's computer found some basic language files in the colony ship's database. "It will take a few minutes to create a translation matrix." While they waited, the human voice continued to speak. Even without understanding the words, Veltar could tell that whoever was talking was asking questions. The tone became more urgent, suggesting that the humans were as surprised by this contact as the Zephyrians were. Finally, Crix nodded. "Translation is ready, sir. The quality will not be perfect, but we should be able to communicate." "Open a channel," Veltar ordered. The static cleared, and they could now understand what the human was saying. "Unknown vessel, this is Colony Control Center. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." "We repeat, please identify yourself." Veltar took a deep breath. First contact with a new species was always a delicate matter. "Colony Control Center, this is Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian survey ship Cosmic Wanderer. We discovered your colony ship in orbit and learned of your presence on the planet. We come in peace and wish to establish friendly contact." There was a long pause. Then the human voice returned, speaking more slowly now. "Commander Veltar, this is Governor Sarah Chun of New Horizon Colony. Did you say you are from another world?" "Yes, Governor Chun, we are explorers from the Zephyrian Republic. We had no knowledge that humans existed until we found your ship. We are very interested to learn how you have survived on this planet for so long." Another pause, longer this time. Veltar could imagine the discussions that must be happening on the surface. After 4 centuries of isolation, contact with aliens would be shocking for any species. "Commander Veltar," Governor Chun finally replied, "would you be willing to meet with us on the surface? We have many questions for you." As well, Veltar looked at his senior officers. They all nodded. This was why they had joined the Survey Corps. "We would be honored to meet with you, Governor. Can you provide landing coordinates? We will send you the location of our main spaceport. Please be aware that our planet has some unusual environmental challenges. You will need protective equipment." Crix quickly plotted the coordinates they received. The landing site was located in what appeared to be a valley between 2 mountain ranges. As their ship descended through the atmosphere, the Zephyrians got their first close look at the human colony. What they saw amazed them. Instead of a few desperate settlements struggling to survive, they found a network of cities connected by roads and what appeared to be some kind of transportation system. The buildings were unlike anything in Zephyrian architecture. They were built low and strong, designed to withstand the harsh weather. Many of them seemed to be partially underground, with only their upper levels visible from the air. "Sir," Thane said from the navigation station, "I am detecting extensive agriculture in this area. Those fields down there are definitely cultivated land." "Agriculture?" Veltar said. "On this planet? How is that possible?" They landed at a spaceport that was clearly built to handle spacecraft, though the design was different from anything they had seen before. As soon as they touched down, they could see humans waiting for them. Even through the viewports, Veltar could tell that these were not primitive survivors. They wore well-made clothing and moved with the confidence of people who belonged here. "Remember," Veltar told his away team as they prepared to leave the ship, "we are guests here. These people have survived for 4 centuries without any outside help. We must show them proper respect." The away team consisted of Veltar, Crick's security chief Nara, and medical officer Zent. They all wore their environmental suits. Though their scanners showed that the atmosphere in the spaceport was breathable, the humans waiting for them were led by a woman who appeared to be in her middle years. She was shorter than the Zephyrians, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. Despite the obvious differences between their species, Veltar could see intelligence and strength in her face. "Governor Chun?" he asked. Through his suit's translator, "Yes, Commander Veltar." "Welcome to New Horizon Colony," she gestured to the people with her. "These are some of my senior advisors. We have prepared a meeting room where we can talk more comfortably." As they walked through the spaceport, Veltar noticed how well-maintained everything was. The floors were clean, the walls were in good repair, and all the equipment looked functional. This was not what he had expected from a lost colony struggling to survive. The meeting room was warm and well lit. The humans had removed their outer jackets, revealing clothes that were clearly locally made but of good quality. Governor Chun gestured for the Zephyrians to sit at a large table. "Before we begin," she said, "I must ask you something. In all our history, we have never encountered other intelligent life. Are there many species like yours in the galaxy?" Veltar nodded. "Yes, Governor. There are currently 43 known intelligent species in what we call the Galactic community. Most of them maintain peaceful relations with each other." The humans exchanged glances. One of the advisors, an older man with gray hair, leaned forward. 43 species? And none of them knew about humans?" "No," Crix answered. "We have never encountered your species before. According to our records, this part of the galaxy was considered uninhabitable." Governor Chun smiled, and there was something in that smile that made Veltar pay attention. "Uninhabitable? I suppose it must seem that way from the outside. Our planet is not what most people would call friendly. How have you survived here for so long?" Medical Officer Zent asked. "Our scans show that the surface temperature is well below freezing. The atmosphere has very little oxygen, and there are frequent severe storms." "Those are indeed challenges," Governor Chun agreed. "But humans are very good at adapting to challenges. Would you like to see some of our cities? I think that might answer your questions better than words." An hour later, Veltar found himself riding in a human vehicle through the colony's main city. What he saw through the windows made him question everything he thought he knew about survival and adaptation. The city was not just functional, it was thriving. The streets were busy with people going about their daily lives. There were shops, schools, and what appeared to be entertainment venues. The buildings were connected by covered walkways that protected pedestrians from the harsh weather outside. "How many people live in this city?" Nara asked. "About 300,000, replied Dr. Marcus Webb, the human scientist who was serving as their guide. "It is our largest settlement, but we have 7 other major cities and dozens of smaller towns across the continent." 300,000 in one city, Veltar said. "Governor Chun told us your total population was 2 million. How is that possible?" Dr. Webb smiled. "Humans reproduce quite efficiently when they have adequate resources. And we have worked very hard to make sure we have adequate resources." They stopped at what Dr. Webb called an atmospheric processing station. From the outside, it looked like a large dome surrounded by tall towers. Inside, the Zephyrians found technology that impressed them despite its apparent simplicity. We extract oxygen and other gases from the planet's crust, Dr. Webb explained. The process is not complicated, but it requires a lot of energy. We get that energy from geothermal plants that tap into the planet's volcanic activity. Crick studied the equipment with professional interest. This is very clever design. You are essentially creating your own breathable atmosphere inside your cities. Exactly. Each city has its own atmospheric system. If one fails, the others continue to operate. We learned early that redundancy is essential for survival. Their next stop was even more impressive. Dr. Webb led them to a vast underground complex that he called the Agricultural Center. Inside, the Zephyrians found level after level of growing plants. Some were clearly Earth species that the original colonists had brought with them. Others were completely unfamiliar. Are those native plants? Zent asked, pointing to a section of strange purple-leafed vegetation. Yes and no, Dr. Webb replied. When we first arrived, this planet had some plant life, but it was all toxic to humans. Our scientists spent decades learning how to modify both Earth plants and native species to create crops that could grow here and provide nutrition we needed. You genetically modified alien plants? Crick said. That requires very advanced biological knowledge. We had some of the galaxy's best scientists among our original colonists. And we have had 4 centuries to learn and improve. Necessity is a powerful teacher. As they toured more of the colony, Veltar began to understand that what they had found was not just a group of survivors. The humans had built a genuine civilization on a world that should have killed them all within a year. They saw workshops where humans manufactured everything from clothes to complex electronics. They visited schools where children learned not just basic subjects but advanced sciences and engineering. They observed a hospital that was as well equipped as any medical facility on Zephyr. How did you maintain this level of technology? Nara asked as they watched human technicians working on what appeared to be a sophisticated computer system. We brought knowledge with us, Governor Chun explained. Our ship's database contained the complete scientific and technical knowledge of human civilization at the time we left Earth, but more importantly, we never stopped learning and improving. This is incredible, Veltar said. You have not just survived on this planet, you have created a thriving society. Governor Chun nodded. That was always our goal, Commander. Survival was just the first step. We came here to build a new world, and that is what we have done. As evening approached, the Zephyrians were invited to dinner at the governor's residence. The building was elegant despite its functional design, and the meal consisted of foods that had been grown entirely on this supposedly uninhabitable planet. I must ask, Veltar said as they ate, why did you never try to leave this planet? Your original ship is still in orbit. Could you not have repaired it and continued your journey? Governor Chen set down her cup and looked thoughtful. We considered it, especially in the early years. But as time passed, this became our home. We had invested so much in making it work that leaving seemed wrong. Besides, where would we go? We had no way of knowing if Earth still existed or if other human colonies had survived. Earth does still exist, Crick said quietly. We passed through that region of space several years ago. It is still inhabited by humans, though they have not achieved interstellar travel beyond their own solar system. The room went silent. Several of the humans looked at each other with expressions that Veltar could not interpret. Earth still exists? Dr. Webb finally said. And humans are still there? Yes, though they appear to be much less advanced than you are. Governor Chen stood up and walked to a window that looked out over the city. Lights twinkled in the darkness, and the covered walkways glowed with warm illumination. 400 years, she said softly. We have been alone for 400 years, building our own world, creating our own future. And now we learn that we were never truly alone. She turned back to face the Zephyrians. Commander Veltar, you have given us a great gift today. You have told us that humanity continues to exist in the galaxy. But I think we may have something to offer in return. What do you mean? Veltar asked. You said that this part of the galaxy was considered uninhabitable. We have proven that assumption wrong. If humans can thrive here on this frozen, toxic world, then perhaps we can thrive anywhere. Perhaps we have learned things that could help other species colonize worlds they thought were impossible to settle. Veltar felt a chill that had nothing to do with the planet's cold atmosphere. As he looked around at the comfortable room, the well-fed humans, and the thriving city outside, he realized that Governor Chun was absolutely right. These humans had not just survived the impossible. They had turned the impossible into the routine. And if they could do it here, on this world of ice and poison, what could they do anywhere else? For the first time since discovering the human colony, Veltar began to understand that this was not just an interesting discovery for the galactic community. This was something that could change everything. Commander Veltar woke up in the guest quarters that Governor Chun had provided for him and his team. The room was comfortable and warm, with a large window that looked out over the human city. Even though it was early morning, the streets were already busy with people starting their day. He still could not believe what he had seen yesterday. The humans had built a real civilization on a planet that every expert in the galaxy would say was impossible to live on. But seeing it with his own eyes was different from just hearing about it. A soft knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called. Dr. Webb entered the room, carrying a tray with what appeared to be breakfast. "Good morning, Commander. Governor Chun thought you might like to try some of our local food before we continue the tour today." Veltar looked at the tray with interest. There were several items he did not recognize, but they smelled pleasant. "Thank you, Dr. Webb. Everything looks very good." "The purple fruit is called frostberry," Dr. Webb explained. "It is a hybrid we created from earth strawberries and a native plant. The bread is made from grain we developed that can grow in low-oxygen environments. And the drink is tea made from leaves that actually help your body process the thin atmosphere." Veltar tasted the frostberry first. It was sweet, but with a sharp flavor that was quite pleasant. "This is excellent. How long did it take you to develop these foods?" "The frostberry took about 30 years to perfect. The grain took longer, maybe 50 years. But the tea was actually one of our earliest successes. We discovered it in our second year here when some of our people got sick from the atmosphere." "You have been experimenting with food for centuries?" Dr. Webb nodded. "We had to. The supplies we brought from Earth lasted only a few years. After that, we either learned to grow food here or we starved. Humans are very motivated when facing starvation." After breakfast, Dr. Webb led Veltar and his team to see more of the colony. Their first stop was what the humans called the engineering district. Here, Veltar saw workshops and factories that produced everything the colony needed to survive. "This is our electronics facility," Dr. Webb said, leading them into a large building. Inside, humans were assembling complex devices using tools and materials that appeared to be entirely local. Crix examined some of the equipment with her scanner. "Commander, these circuits are made from materials I do not recognize. But they appear to be very sophisticated." A human technician overheard her and smiled. "We learned to extract rare metals from the planet's crust. Some of them have properties that are actually better than what we used on Earth. This metal here," he pointed to a silvery component, "conducts electricity better than copper and is completely resistant to corrosion." "You discovered new materials?" Nara asked. "We had to," the technician replied. "Traditional Earth materials do not work well in our environment. The acid rain corrodes most metals within months. The temperature changes crack normal plastics. So we learned to make new materials that could handle these conditions." Dr. Webb led them to another section of the facility. "This is where we build our atmospheric processors. Each one can supply breathable air for about 10,000 people." Veltar studied the machines. They were not large, but they were clearly very complex. "How many of these do you have?" "About 400 scattered across all our settlements. We build new ones constantly because our population keeps growing." "Your population is still growing?" "Of course. Dr. Webb said with a look of surprise. Why would it not? We have adequate food, clean water, breathable air, and safe shelter. Those are the basic requirements for any population to grow. The next stop on their tour was the mining operation. The humans had built extensive tunnels deep into the planet's crust, extracting not just metals, but also the chemicals they needed for their atmospheric processors and the minerals required for their agriculture. How deep do these tunnels go? Zent asked as they descended in an elevator. About 2 kilometers at the deepest point, replied Maria Santos, the chief mining engineer. We follow the mineral veins wherever they lead. The planet's geology is actually quite rich in useful materials. When they reached the bottom level, Veltar found himself in a vast underground chamber filled with mining equipment. But what impressed him most was not the machinery, but the organization. Every tool had its place, every worker knew exactly what to do, and the entire operation ran with smooth efficiency. This is remarkable, he told Maria. Your mining operation is as advanced as anything we have on Zephyria, Maria laughed. It had better be. If our mining fails, our atmospheric processors stop working. If the processors stop working, we all die. That kind of pressure makes you very good at your job very quickly. As they toured the mining facility, Veltar began to understand something important about the humans. They did not just survive on this planet by accepting hardship. They survived by refusing to accept hardship. Every challenge the planet presented, they found a way to overcome. Their next destination was the most impressive sight yet. Dr. Webb led them to the agricultural complex they had visited briefly the day before, but this time he showed them the full scale of the operation. Our main farming facility extends for 12 levels underground, he explained as they rode an elevator down. Each level is optimized for different types of crops. The underground farm was enormous. Veltar had seen agricultural facilities on many worlds, but nothing like this. Row after row of plants stretched as far as he could see, growing under artificial lights that somehow provided everything the plants needed. How do you power all of this? Crix asked. Geothermal energy, Dr. Webb replied. This planet has a very active core. We learned to tap into that energy early in our settlement. We now have over 200 geothermal plants providing power for our cities. A human farmer named David Chun, who was the governor's nephew, showed them some of the more unusual crops. These blue vegetables are protein plants, he explained. They provide all the amino acids humans need. We developed them from a native fungus that was originally poisonous. You made poisonous fungus into food? Zent asked. David grinned. That was one of our easier projects. The red fruit over there used to be so acidic it could eat through metal. Now it is sweet enough for children's desserts. How is that possible? Genetic modification and selective breeding. We have had 4 centuries to perfect our techniques. Plus, when your survival depends on success, you become very creative. As they toured more of the agricultural facility, Veltar noticed something else. The humans did not just grow food efficiently. They appeared to enjoy the work. People were laughing and talking as they tended their crops. Children played in safe areas while their parents worked. This was not desperate survival. This was a community that had made a good life for itself. That afternoon, Dr. Webb took them to see the colony's research center. Here, human scientists were working on projects that amazed even the technologically advanced Zephyrians. This team is developing new building materials, Dr. Webb explained, showing them a laboratory where scientists were testing various substances. We need materials that can expand and contract with extreme temperature changes without breaking. And this group, he continued, leading them to another lab, is working on improving our atmospheric processors. The goal is to eventually terraform the entire planet. Terraform the entire planet? Veltar repeated. That would take thousands of years. Dr. Sarah Kim, the lead terraforming scientist, looked up from her work. Actually, our models suggest we could have a breathable atmosphere across 30% of the main continent within 200 years. We have already made significant progress. She led them to a large window that looked out over the surrounding landscape. In the distance, Veltar could see areas where the ground was a different color. Those green areas used to be gray rock, Dr. Kim explained. We have introduced modified bacteria that break down the toxic compounds in the soil and replace them with nutrients that earth plants can use. In another 50 years, we expect to be growing crops in open fields. The implications of what she was saying hit Veltar like a physical blow. You are changing the entire planet? Of course, why would we not? This is our home now. We want to make it the best home possible. That evening, Governor Chun invited the Zephyrians to attend what she called a community celebration. It was being held in a large public space in the center of the city, and it appeared that thousands of humans were planning to attend. What are you celebrating? Veltar asked as they walked through the crowded streets. The completion of our newest city, Governor Chun replied. We just finished construction on Settlement 7. It will house 50,000 people and includes our most advanced atmospheric processing system yet. You built an entire city? We build a new major settlement every 15 to 20 years. Our population keeps growing and we need places for people to live. Settlement 7 is actually our most ambitious project yet. It is located in a region that was previously considered too hostile even for us. The celebration was unlike anything Veltar had ever experienced. There was music played on instruments that appeared to be made from local materials. There was food representing recipes that had been developed over centuries of experimentation. There were displays showing the history of the colony and its achievements, but what impressed him most was the attitude of the people. These were not desperate survivors grateful to be alive. These were people who were proud of what they had built and excited about their future. Commander, said a young human woman who approached their group, is it true that there are many other intelligent species in the galaxy? Yes, Veltar replied. 43 known species. Do any of them live on worlds as challenging as ours? Veltar thought about the question. He had visited planets that were hot, cold, toxic, radioactive, and hostile in many different ways. But he had never seen any species not only survive but thrive in such conditions. No, he said honestly. Most species choose planets that are already suitable for their biology. If a world is too hostile, they usually do not attempt to settle it, the young woman smiled. Then I guess humans are different. Later that night, as the celebration continued around them, Governor Chun pulled Veltar aside for a private conversation. Commander, I want to ask you something important. In your travels, have you encountered worlds that other species have abandoned because they were too difficult to settle? Yes, many such worlds exist. Why do you ask? Governor Chun looked out over the celebration, where thousands of her people were enjoying themselves in a city built on a world that should have killed them all. Because I think humans might be able to settle those worlds. We have learned how to live anywhere, how to adapt to any conditions, how to turn hostile environments into homes. If there are empty worlds in the galaxy that other species cannot use, perhaps we could use them. Veltar felt that familiar chill again. The implications of what Governor Chun was suggesting were enormous. If humans could settle worlds that other species found impossible, it would change the entire balance of power in the galaxy. Governor, such an undertaking would require ships, resources, technology, all of which we can build, she interrupted. Commander, we started with nothing but a broken ship and 10,000 desperate people. Look what we have accomplished. Imagine what we could do with the resources of an entire galaxy. As Veltar looked around at the thriving city, the happy people, and the evidence of human achievement everywhere, he realized that Governor Chun was not making an idle boast. These humans had proved that they could accomplish the impossible. The question was not whether they could do what she suggested. The question was, what would happen to the rest of the galaxy when they did? Veltar was enjoying a quiet breakfast with his team when the alarm started sounding. The high-pitched wail echoed through the guest quarters, and immediately they could hear running footsteps in the corridors outside. What is that sound? Nara asked reaching for her weapon out of instinct. Before anyone could answer, Dr. Webb burst through the door. His usually calm face was tight with worry. "Commander, we have an emergency situation. Governor Chen requests that you and your team come to the command center immediately." "What kind of emergency?" Veltar asked as they quickly gathered their equipment. "Mount Prometheus is erupting," Dr. Webb said as he led them through the building at a fast walk. "It is the largest volcano on our continent, and the eruption is bigger than anything we have seen in 50 years. They hurried through the corridors, and Veltar noticed that despite the obvious emergency, the humans around them were moving with purpose rather than panic. People were talking quickly into communication devices, checking computer screens, and organizing equipment, but no one seemed to be afraid. The command center was a large room filled with monitors and control stations. Governor Chun stood at the center, surrounded by advisors and technical staff. When she saw the Zephyrians enter, she waved them over. "Commander, I am sorry to interrupt your visit, but we have a serious situation developing." She pointed to a large display screen that showed a satellite view of the planet. A huge red glow was visible on one of the continents, with smoke and ash spreading across a wide area. "Mount Prometheus began erupting about 2 hours ago," Governor Chun explained. "The eruption is sending lava flows directly towards settlement. 60,000 people live there." Veltar studied the display. The lava appeared to be moving down the mountainside like a slow river of fire, heading straight for what looked like a large city. "How long before the lava reaches the settlement?" "At current speed, about 8 hours," replied a human technician. "But the ash and toxic gases will arrive much sooner, probably within 3 hours. Are you evacuating the city?" Crix asked. Governor Chun and several of her advisors exchanged looks. Then the governor smiled, and there was something in that smile that reminded Veltar of a predator getting ready to hunt. "No, Commander, we are not evacuating. We are going to save the city." Veltar stared at her. "Save the city? From a volcanic eruption? How is that possible?" "Dr. Martinez, please explain our emergency protocol to our guests," Governor Chun said. A woman with gray hair and intense eyes stepped forward. "Commander, Settlement 5 was built in that location specifically because of Mount Prometheus. The geothermal energy from the volcano powers our largest industrial complex. We always knew that someday we would have to deal with an eruption." "You built a city next to an active volcano on purpose?" Zent asked. "Of course," Dr. Martinez replied. "The volcano provides enormous energy, rich soil from previous eruptions, and several rare minerals that we need for our technology. The benefits outweigh the risks as long as we are prepared to manage those risks." She led them to a detailed map of the area around Settlement 5. "We have 3 main strategies for dealing with volcanic eruptions. First, we redirect the lava flows away from populated areas. Second, we protect the city from ash and gas using our atmospheric shields. Third, we use the eruption itself to improve our infrastructure." "You use the eruption to improve infrastructure?" Veltar repeated. "Volcanic eruptions deposit many useful materials," Dr. Martinez explained. "If we manage the process correctly, we can collect rare metals, create new geothermal taps, and enrich the soil for agriculture. Essentially, we turn a natural disaster into a resource opportunity." Governor Chun walked over to a communication station. "All teams, this is Governor Chun. Implementation of Emergency Protocol 7 is now in effect." "I repeat, Protocol 7 is active." Immediately, the command center became even busier. Humans began coordinating what appeared to be a massive operation involving multiple cities and thousands of people. "Would you like to observe our emergency response?" Governor Chun asked the Zephyrians. "I think it might help you understand how we approach challenges on this world." Veltar nodded, though he was not sure what they were about to witness. The first phase of the human response involved something they called lava diversion. Dr. Martinez explained that Settlement 5 was surrounded by a network of channels and barriers that had been built over many decades. "We cannot stop lava, but we can guide it where we want it to go," she said, showing them real-time images from the volcano. Human teams were already in the field, using explosives to open certain channels while closing others. Those people are working very close to the lava, Nara observed. Yes, but they are wearing our volcanic environment suits, Dr. Martinez replied. The suits can protect a person from direct contact with lava for up to 30 minutes. That is, enough time to place explosives and retreat to safety. You have suits that protect against lava? Crix asked. We developed them after the eruption of 2387. That eruption taught us that we needed better protection for our emergency teams. On the screens, Veltar watched human workers moving efficiently around the volcano, setting charges and building temporary barriers. Within 2 hours, they had successfully redirected the main lava flow away from Settlement 5 and toward a valley that had been prepared for exactly this purpose. The second phase involved protecting the city from ash and poisonous gases. Settlement 5, like all human cities, was covered by a protective dome, but volcanic gases presented special challenges. We are switching the city to internal atmosphere, announced a technician. All external air intakes are now sealed. Citizens are advised to remain indoors for the next 6 hours. The entire city can run on internal atmosphere? Veltar asked. For up to 2 weeks if necessary, Governor Chun replied. We learned early in our history that independence from external atmosphere was essential for survival on this planet. But the third phase of the human response was what truly amazed the Zephyrians. Instead of simply protecting themselves from the eruption, the humans began harvesting it. Teams of workers deployed specialized equipment around the lava flows, collecting gases that were released during the eruption. Other teams gathered volcanic ash in large containers. Still others began setting up new geothermal taps to capture the increased heat output from the volcano. You are mining the eruption? Veltar said with amazement. Exactly, Dr. Martinez replied. Volcanic eruptions release many materials that are difficult to obtain any other way. The gases can be processed into chemicals we need for manufacturing. The ash contains minerals that are excellent for soil enhancement. And the increased geothermal activity gives us access to energy sources that were previously too deep to reach. As the day progressed, Veltar watched the humans turn what should have been a disaster into an opportunity. Not only did they protect their city, but they actually improved their resource base in the process. By evening, the immediate crisis was over. Settlement 5 was safe. The lava had been redirected into areas where it would eventually provide new geothermal energy, and the humans had collected enough volcanic materials to supply their industries for months. How often do you face emergencies like this? Veltar asked Governor Chun as they gathered in her office for a debriefing. Major volcanic eruptions happen every few years, she replied. Severe storms occur several times each year. Seismic events are common, and we occasionally have problems with the native wildlife. Native wildlife? Dr. Webb, who had joined them for the meeting, nodded. Some of the larger predators on this planet are quite aggressive. They sometimes attack our settlements, especially during their mating seasons. And you deal with all of these threats the same way? We prepare for them, we respond efficiently when they occur, and we find ways to benefit from them, Governor Chun said. That is the human approach to challenges. But why? Nara asked. Why not simply find an easier world to live on? Governor Chun was quiet for a moment, looking out the window at her city. The lights twinkled in the darkness, and people were going about their evening activities as if nothing unusual had happened that day. Because this is our home, she said finally. We have invested 4 centuries in making this world work for us. Every generation has contributed to what we have built here. To abandon it would be to abandon our history, our achievements, and our identity. But more than that, Dr. Webb added, we have learned something important here. We have learned that humans can adapt to anything. Every challenge this planet has thrown at us, we have overcome. Every problem we faced, we solved. Every obstacle we encountered, we turned into an advantage. That is what makes us human, Governor Chun continued. We do not adapt to survive, we adapt to thrive. We do not accept the limitations that our environment places on us. We change those limitations until they become opportunities. Veltar felt a chill run through his body. He was beginning to understand that what he had witnessed today was not just an emergency response. It was a demonstration of human philosophy. In action. Governor, may I ask you a hypothetical question? Of course. If humans encountered a world with challenges they had never faced before, what would they do? Governor Chun smiled. They would study those challenges until they understood them. Then they would develop tools and techniques to overcome them. Then they would use those tools and techniques to not only survive on that world, but to make it better than it was before. And if the challenges were truly impossible, beyond any reasonable hope of success, then humans would probably be more interested in that world than any other, Dr. Webb said with a laugh. We seem to enjoy impossible challenges. That night, Veltar lay in his bed thinking about what he had seen. The humans had faced a volcanic eruption that would have forced most species to evacuate an entire city. Instead, they had protected their people, redirected the lava, and turned the eruption into a source of new resources. But what impressed him most was not their technology or their planning. It was their attitude. They had faced the eruption, not as a disaster to be endured, but as a problem to be solved. And once they solved it, they found ways to benefit from it. He began to understand that this was how humans approached everything. They did not see hostile environments, dangerous situations, or impossible challenges. They saw puzzles to be solved, obstacles to be overcome, and opportunities to be created. The next morning, Governor Chun made an announcement that confirmed Veltar's growing understanding of human nature. Commander, we have decided to establish a new settlement in the area affected by yesterday's eruption. The volcanic activity has created access to new geothermal resources and deposited minerals that will be useful for our manufacturing. We expect to begin construction within the month. You are going to build a city at the site of a volcanic eruption? Crix asked. Of course, Governor Chun replied. It is an excellent location. High energy availability, rich soil, and interesting geological features. Why would we not build there? As Veltar prepared to leave the human colony and return to his ship, he realized that he had learned something that would change everything. The humans had not just survived on an impossible world. They had developed a way of thinking that made impossible worlds possible. And if they could do that here, there was no telling what they could accomplish if they ever spread to other worlds in the galaxy. For the first time in his career as an explorer, Veltar felt afraid of what he had discovered. The journey back to Zephyrian space took 3 weeks. For most of that time, Commander Veltar sat in his quarters writing the most important report of his career. Every word had to be perfect because this report would change how the entire galaxy viewed humanity. He wrote about the impossible colony that had survived for 4 centuries. He described the cities, the technology, the agriculture, and the attitude that made it all possible. But most importantly, he wrote about what he had learned during the volcanic eruption. They do not just survive, he wrote. They take every challenge and turn it into an advantage. They do not accept the limitations of their environment. They change those limitations until they become opportunities. This is not adaptation. This is transformation. When the Cosmic Wanderer finally reached Zephyrian space, Veltar sent his report directly to the High Council. Then he waited. The response came faster than he expected. Within 2 days, he received orders to appear before the full Galactic Council on the neutral station of Harmony Point. His report had been shared with all 43 known species in the galaxy. The council chamber was enormous, designed to accommodate representatives from dozens of different species. Veltar had been here before, but never as the center of attention. Today, every eye in the chamber was focused on him. Council Speaker Threnduk, a wise old member of the Altarian species, called the session to order. Commander Veltar, you have submitted a report about a previously unknown human colony. The Implications of your discoveries have caused considerable discussion among the member species. Please present your findings to the full council. Veltar stood and activated the holographic display system. Images of the human colony appeared in the center of the chamber, showing the cities, the technology, and the thriving civilization that existed on what everyone had thought was a dead world. Honored representatives, he began. What you see here is a human colony established 400 years ago, on a planet that our best scientists classified as uninhabitable. Not only have these humans survived, but they have built a civilization that rivals anything in the galaxy. Murmurs filled the chamber. Ambassador Kextai of the Corvani hegemony raised one of his 4 arms. Commander, surely you exaggerate. No species can thrive on a world with those environmental conditions. I thought the same thing, Ambassador, but I have seen it with my own eyes. Veltar activated a recording of the volcanic eruption response. This is how humans deal with natural disasters. They do not flee, they do not simply endure. They turn disasters into opportunities for expansion. The chamber fell silent as the representatives watched humans redirecting lava flows, harvesting volcanic gases, and planning to build a new city at the eruption site. When the recording ended, Ambassador Yelenara of the Crystalline Confederation spoke. This is disturbing, Commander. If humans can do this on one world, what could they do on multiple worlds? That is exactly the question we must consider, Veltar replied. According to our archives, there are over 3,000 worlds in known space that have been classified as uninhabitable or too dangerous to colonize. If humans can settle worlds like the one I visited, they could potentially claim all of those worlds. The chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives from different species began talking rapidly among themselves. Some seemed excited by the possibilities. Others appeared worried or frightened. Council Speaker Threnduk called for order. Commander, in your opinion, what are the implications of this discovery for galactic stability? Veltar had prepared for this question, but it was still difficult to answer. Honored Speaker, that depends entirely on how we choose to respond. The humans I met expressed no aggressive intentions toward other species. They seemed content to build their own civilization, without interfering with others. But what if that changes? Asked Ambassador Zorthek of the Militant Coalition. What if these humans decide they want to expand beyond their one world? Then they would become the dominant species in the galaxy within a few centuries, Veltar answered honestly. They have capabilities that none of us possess. They can live anywhere, adapt to anything, and turn any challenge into an advantage. The discussion that followed lasted for hours. Some species argued that humanity should be contacted immediately and invited to join the Galactic Council. They pointed out that human abilities could benefit everyone. By allowing colonization of previously useless worlds, other species demanded that humanity be contained, or even eliminated before they could spread. They argued that human adaptability posed an existential threat to all other civilizations. Ambassador Felinari of the Wise Collective offered a different perspective. Perhaps we are approaching this incorrectly. These humans have been isolated for 4 centuries. They may not even know that the rest of humanity still exists in the galaxy. Should we not first determine the status of the human homeworld? This suggestion led to another heated debate. Several species reported that they had encountered humans before, but only in their home system. Those humans had never developed faster than light, travel, and were considered a minor species confined to one star system. If the colony humans ever made contact with Earth humans, Ambassador Kextai observed, they could share their advanced technologies. That would change everything. Which is exactly why we must act quickly, insisted Ambassador Zorthek. Every day we delay increases the risk of human expansion. Council Speaker Threnduk raised his hand for silence. This council will recess for 3 days to allow all species to consult with their governments. When we reconvene, we will vote on how to proceed. During the recess, Veltar found himself at the center of countless private meetings. Representatives from every major species wanted to hear his impressions of the humans in person. The conversation that affected him most was with Ambassador Yelanara. The Crystalline Confederation was one of the oldest and most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Their opinion carried enormous weight. "Commander," she said as they sat in her private quarters, "I have read your report many times. But I need to understand something. Do you believe these humans pose a threat to galactic peace?" Veltar considered the question carefully. "Ambassador, the humans I met were peaceful, intelligent, and focused on building rather than destroying. But they are also incredibly capable. If they ever decided to expand aggressively, I do not think any force in the galaxy could stop them. Even united, all 43 species together? I watched them turn a volcanic eruption into a construction project, Ambassador. They have spent 4 centuries learning to thrive in conditions that would kill most of us within hours. If they wanted to take our worlds, they would not need to fight us. They would simply settle worlds we cannot use and build superior civilizations there." Ambassador Yelanara was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "Then we have 2 choices. We can try to be their friends, or we can try to stop them before they become unstoppable. Which do you think is the better choice?" "I think friendship is always preferable to war, Commander. But I also think that decision may no longer be ours to make." When the council reconvened, the debate was more intense than before. Each species had consulted with their leadership, and the responses varied dramatically. The militaristic species, led by the Corvani hegemony and the militant coalition, argued for immediate action to contain or eliminate the human threat. They had developed detailed plans for blockading human space and preventing any expansion. The peaceful species, including the Wise Collective and several smaller civilizations, argued for diplomatic contact and potential alliance. They believed that human capabilities could benefit the entire galaxy if properly channeled. The industrial species were split. Some saw humans as potential partners who could help develop previously unusable worlds. Others saw them as competitors who could eventually dominate all resource extraction and manufacturing. The debate continued for 2 days. Finally, Council Speaker Threnda called for a series of votes to determine the galaxy's response. The first vote was on whether to make immediate contact with the human colony. This passed by a narrow margin, with 23 species in favor and 20 opposed. The second vote was on whether to establish diplomatic relations with the colony. This also passed, but by an even smaller margin. The third vote was the most controversial. Should the Galactic Council inform Earth's human government about the existence of their lost colony? This vote failed, with only 18 species in favor. The final vote would determine the galaxy's long-term strategy toward humanity. 3 options were presented: full integration into the Galactic Council, limited contact with monitoring or containment with no expansion permitted. The vote was close. Full integration received 15 votes. Limited contact received 17 votes. Containment received 11 votes. By the narrow margin of 17 votes, Council Speaker Threnduk announced, the Galactic Council has decided to pursue limited contact with the human colony with ongoing monitoring of their activities and capabilities. But as Veltar listened to the announcement, he realized that the real decision had not been made in the council chamber. The real decision would be made by the humans themselves. 3 months later, Veltar received a message that confirmed his fears. The message came through official diplomatic channels, but it originated from the human colony. "Commander Veltar," the message began, "this is Governor Sarah Chung. I wanted to inform you that our engineers have successfully developed a faster-than-light drive based on principles we discovered while studying our planet's unique physics. We have also made contact with Earth and shared our technological advances with our home government." The message continued, but Veltar stopped reading. He immediately contacted the Galactic Council. "The situation has changed," he reported to Council Speaker Threnduk. "The humans now have faster-than-light travel. They have contacted their homeworld, and they are beginning to expand. How is that possible? Our intelligence suggested it would take them decades to develop space travel. We underestimated them," Veltar replied. just as every species has underestimated them for 4 centuries. Over the following months, reports began reaching the Galactic Council from across known space. Human ships had been spotted in 17 different star systems. All of them were systems that had been classified as uninhabitable or too dangerous for colonization. But the humans were not just exploring these worlds, they were settling them. Within a year, humanity had established colonies on 12 worlds that other species had abandoned or never attempted to settle. Each colony was growing rapidly and developing unique technologies adapted to local conditions. The galaxy watched in amazement and growing concern as humans began to demonstrate that there truly was no such thing as an uninhabitable world. Some species began requesting human assistance with their own colonization efforts. Others demanded immediate action to stop human expansion. But Veltar knew that it was already too late for either approach to work. Humanity had learned the most important lesson possible during their 4 centuries of isolation, that any challenge could be overcome with enough determination, creativity, and cooperation. The galaxy was about to discover what humans could accomplish when they had unlimited challenges to overcome and unlimited worlds to transform. As Veltar finished his final report on the human situation, he wrote one last observation. We spent so much time debating what to do about humanity that we forgot to ask the most important question: what will humanity do about us? The answer to that question would reshape the galaxy in ways that no one could imagine. But one thing was certain: the age of human expansion had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. In the depths of space, human ships continued their search for impossible worlds to call home. And on each world they began the patient work of turning the impossible into the inevitable.